Okay, this is People of the State of Michigan versus Lorenzo Garza, docket number 21-31FH. And this is the time set for a plea. And Mr. Garza, I have your address on Rosemary Street. Is that still accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how far did you go in school?
To freshman year.
Okay, and do you work right now?
Yes, I do.
Where at?
One stop, Wash and Lube in DeWitt.
Okay, and would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Garza, you have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Jackson, and either Mr. Jackson or Miss Allen, which counter counts as this a plea to?
Okay.
Count 3 on the amended information, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, will you waive reading of counts 1 and 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Ms. Allen, would you read count 3, please?
In the People of the State of Michigan versus Lorenzo Garza, file 21-31-FH, State of Michigan, County of Ingham. In the name of the people of the State of Michigan, the prosecuting attorney for this county appears before the court and informs the court that on or about December 2nd, 2020, at 2615 West Kalamazoo Street, Lansing Township, Ingham County, the defendant did in count 3 commit the offense of carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent, that he did with the intent to use the same unlawfully against the person of another, go armed with a pistol, contrary to Michigan law. This is a felony punishable by up to 5 years or $2,500, mandatory forfeiture of weapon or device, and was committed against the peace and dignity of the state of Michigan.
Mr. Garza, you're being charged here with carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent. That is a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison. If you were on parole at the time you committed the offense, it would be a mandatory consecutive sentence. Have you had enough time to talk about this charge with your lawyer?
Yes, I have.
Do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about what we're doing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how do you want to plead?
Guilty.
If your plea of guilty is accepted by this court, it means you won't have a trial of any kind, and you'll be giving up the rights that go along with a trial. I have to go through those with you. It means you'll be giving up the right to trial by jury, or if you didn't want trial by jury, trial by judge. It also means you're giving up the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and to require the prosecutor to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You're giving up your right to have the witnesses against you appear at the trial and to be able to cross-examine them, as well as your right to have this court order any witnesses that you might have to appear at the trial. Also, you're giving up your right to remain silent at the trial and not to have that silence used against you, or if you wanted to, the right to testify yourself at the trial if you wanted to. Also, there are some things about guilty pleas there's some things about appeals that are different with guilty pleas. The first thing you need to know is that when you plead guilty, you don't get an automatic right to appeal your case to the higher court. Instead, you have to ask them to hear the case, and they would have to agree to hear it. And the other thing is that when you plead guilty, you don't get a right to appeal many issues to the higher court. Unlike going to trial, if you get convicted, you can appeal pretty much everything. Do you understand those rights, Mr. Garza?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I accept your plea, it also means you cannot come back later on and try to say that the plea was the result of some promise or threat that no one told me about today. Do you understand that?
Yes.
It also means you cannot come back later on and try to say that it really wasn't your own choice to plead guilty today. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a plea agreement, Ms. Allen?
There is, Your Honor. In exchange for the defendant's successful plea and sentence to count 3 on the amended information, the people agreed to dismiss count 1 and count 2. There's also a sentence agreement pursuant to People versus Killebrew that the defendant will receive no upfront jail. And we also have no objection to him receiving treatment under the Holmes Youthful Trainee Act.
Mr. Jackson, is that a full and complete statement?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Garza, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree with it?
Yes.
There's an agreement about your sentence, and that is that it would involve no upfront jail. If for some reason I decided not to go along with that, I would tell you before I sentenced you and give you a chance if you wanted to take back this plea and start all over. You got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, has anyone promised you anything else other than what's been said here right now in order to get you to plead guilty?
No, ma'am.
Okay, anyone used any threats to get you to plead guilty?
You said threats?
Yes, sir.
No, ma'am.
Is this your own choice?
Yes.
And are you pleading guilty because you believe you are in fact guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's talk about December 2nd of last year then, and tell me what you did on or about that date.
Well, I don't really remember the day too well.
Okay, did you have a gun at some point?
Yes, I did.
What were you doing with it?
I don't really remember what I did with it.
Were you in a fight with someone maybe, or
No, I was not.
were you taking the gun somewhere?
No, ma'am.
Okay, did you threaten someone with the gun?
I don't really remember that like that.
Mr. Jackson, did you prepare your client for this plea?
Yes, Your Honor, we did speak, and he did tell me that he doesn't remember everything well because he was intoxicated. We did have a preliminary exam on this, and I told him, and we kind of talked about the plea inquiry today. And basically, it's not the greatest strategy, but we're going to see what the questions were and see how much he did remember before I was going to indicate that his memory is a little bit fuzzy. But if I could possibly have a breakout room with him, because I believe he would have to do an actual guilty plea to receive HIDA. And I might need to talk to him quickly about that again.